Super Saturday from Campbelltown today, the first of 3 games on Fox Sports, and it is the Tigers and the Knights, the Balmain Tigers, the Western Suburbs Magpies combined against the Newcastle Knights here on what is a lovely winter's afternoon. Was a little cloudy and overcast earlier, but certainly no excuse with conditions in terms of what the two sides can offer today. And the Tigers, well, there's more focus on them. They have recaptured form the last 2 weeks, wins over Melbourne and Canberra, genuine finals contenders, and today they face a side which could well win the wooden spoon. So Tigers very warm favourites. Knights, Danny Buderus, third game in charge. Greg Alexander, have they got what it takes?
Well, there were some good signs from them the first game that Danny Buderus was in charge, and for 50 minutes they were good against the Dragons. They let themselves down in the opening half against the Roosters last week. They line up this way: Jake Mamo, Aquila Uarte and Nathan Ross, the back three. Sione Matautia and Dane Gagai are the centres, and we spoke in the pre-game about the combination of Gagai and Uarte down that right side. Gidley and Tyrone Roberts are the halves. Up front for Newcastle, Cade Snowden, Adam Clydesdale and Corbin Sims. The back row, and there's some hard heads there: Jeremy Smith, Beau Scott and Tarek Sims. And on the bench, Tyler Randall, Chris Houston, Clint Newton and Sam Mataraora.
And one of the victories for the Knights this year was over the Tigers in round 10 at Hunter, and they won 22-12 after leading 12-6 at half-time.
West Tigers are in real danger of taking the wooden spoon this year after slumping to their 13th loss of the season. It was a better day for Danny Buderus, who enjoyed his first win as a coach. The Knights too good, winning 24-18.
On the table, this was a game of little consequence, both teams already out of top 8 contention. Sometimes, when the pressure's off, it's more entertaining.
Now the Campbelltown kid will score!
Veteran Pat Richards the next to fly over. West backing up a fortnight of good form. Big wins over the Storm and Raiders, boosting the confidence of a mostly young but very talented team.
Pat Richards gets those feet off the ground and puts it down comfortably.
The Knights have struggled with confidence all year. Last on the ladder, their coach sacked. But like their opponents, the potential has been there all season. Speaking of potential, this man could possibly have the most in the NRL.
Tedesco! Well, if he's onside, it's magic!
The crowd was spoilt, both teams piling on the points in a big first half.
And Roberts, I think, has got his first try for the year.
It doesn't look as pretty, but a spectacular try save from Beau Scott, just as impressive as all the 4-pointers. Aaron Woods hurt his knee and didn't come back for the second half. Even without his go forward, the Tigers continued to find the line. This David Nofaluma effort wasn't awarded, but still deserved a place in the highlights reel.
Oh, it's getting towards the touch-in goal line. Oh, he can't give it.
The flurry of tries had stopped, but a final hurrah from Newcastle, enough for the win and to move the Novocastrians off the bottom of the table. Erin Molan, 9 News.
Let's talk sport, shall we? Matty Carmichael, so much happening tonight.
Oh, it is a great time to be a sport fan, Mel. Good evening, everyone. We'll start with the NRL. The Knights have climbed off the bottom of the ladder with a scrappy 6-point win over West Tigers. The Tigers made the early running, jumping out to a 10-point lead, but a try to Aku Uarte turned the momentum and forced Aaron Woods to leave the field with a knee injury. The Tigers hit back through form fullback James Tedesco.
Tedesco! Well, if he's onside, it's magic!
But the Knights grabbed the lead after the break, then bombed a number of chances to put the game away. Danny Buderus could see his first win as coach slipping away until Tyrone Roberts won it in the last minute. The Knights home 24-18.
Sherrington links up with big CU for 9. Scott there suggesting he has saved the try.
Tackle, have no try.
Going to be a hell of a stop if they've done that to CU for 9 right there. Oh, look at this. That's incredible from Beau Scott.
Yeah, that is a great save.
Yes, that is our supreme Beau, Scott, saving the day there. And, well, it may have just led to the win for the Knights. It was an outstanding win, a fantastic win for the Knights, breaking a 3-game losing streak, 24 points to 18 over the Tigers. The Tigers were on a roll as well, Gas.
Yeah, they were. They started really good, but a lot of them attributes Danny Buderus has been searching for, that willingness to win, the effort to work for one another. It slowly crept back. Don't get me wrong, they didn't have a lot of finesse, they weren't fantastic, but I tell you what, they had a hell of a lot of effort. They got held up so many times. The Tigers did try hard too, but it actually turned out to be a really good game.
Yeah, it was a good game, wasn't it? And no better for
Danny Buderus. Absolutely. And for Tyrone Roberts as well, that clearly meant a lot to him. Obviously, he'd be sad to have to leave Newcastle at the end of the year and for what they've been through, but a fair bit of relief for Knights interim coach Danny Buderus after the win. Jeremy Smith put it perfectly, I feel, at full time. He told us that the club legend is now off his own nudie run.
Yeah, it's the best day of my career, that's for sure, as a coach. So, yeah, it was the most frustrating, enjoyable, I think, experience I've had. You know, if you can bottle that experience and that feeling that's in that shed right now, you know, I know they'll turn up again like that next week.
Yeah, he absolutely couldn't wipe the smile off his face. It's only been a short coaching career, but you can see how stressful it can be. And everybody loves Danny Buderus, and the Knights players, we've seen them at full time in the sheds individually. Here we are, going up and shaking his hand. Everyone loves him clearly at that club.
That's what you want. I mean, that's when you get the best out of your players, when they respect the coach, they love playing for him. Danny Buderus is a great guy. He's experienced, he's been there, he's done it. And you can tell already, today's performance from mine was their most consistent over 80 minutes. They've showed signs over the last 3 weeks, but
it's the first time they've looked like they've really, really cared.
That's right, yeah.
And a few of them guys have played with Bedsy too, you know. I think Hasler played with him, you know, a lot of the boys, Gidley.
Yeah.
Well, we spoke about their defence, and it was very much improved. And obviously, Bedsy's sending that message down to the boys. A great win for the Knights. Braith, what about you?
I'm sticking with the Tyrones as well. Tyrone Roberts from Newcastle. Like, he had a really good game. He scored 2 tries. He's just signed with the Titans, so look at the dance on it. Oh, mate. I wish
Podium position. Shirvo at his own.
That's why he's coming.
Tyrone Roberts,
I can't
for
dance,
sure.
so I need some help. So he might be able to give me a few tips. But yeah, he signed with the Titans. It looked like he played with a weight off his shoulders, and he's coming for a drink.
Let's go to Newcastle. We're talking about Danny Buderus' first win up there, and a good performance from the Knights here. Again, we'll get into all of these games in a little bit more detail later on, but they were down 10-0 early and showed plenty of fight. Uarte getting them back in the game, and I liked what I saw from Newcastle last night. In fact, I think the effort the last 2 weeks has been very good.
You're right. They really fought hard, showed a lot of spirit, and it was a great win in the end. They really hung in the tough periods. They hung in. They started poor. I think it was 10-0 after 7 minutes, but yeah, they dug in, and you just saw just a little bit more effort. You see the desperation.
I think it's a combination of two things, Pete, since we've seen the sacking of Rick Stone. We saw that Matt Gidley came out and put every player on notice. I think that would have sent a message. But also, obviously, the influence of Danny Buderus taking the reins has clearly made a difference to the side. But what yesterday's victory did for the Knights was open the wooden spoon race right up again, and it throws the challenge to the Titans today to lift themselves off the bottom of the ladder now with the Tigers and also the Knights sitting on the same points.
There is a few in contention.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm laughing is watching Danny up in the box yesterday afternoon. Welcome to first grade, Danny, in this capacity, because it is an absolute roller coaster, especially in the second half where there was something like 3 or 4 decisions that look like possibly being tries, like that one.
I've seen that look a few times, don't worry.
Who would he say sorry to up there?
He'd be saying to himself, sorry, mate.
I reckon Michael Hagan would be a nice kind of counterbalance for him up in the box there. And
oh, yes. Like an old married couple, don't they? 2 characters. Yeah, it's good stuff. Look, you can see with the players how much they respect him too. And
fantastic.
Yeah, so happy for him. They're good scenes, aren't they? Good pictures.
It is nice, yeah. And
so well done, Bed. Super coach. Look at that. Yeah, he was doing that about 1:30 last night. That's what I'm doing that.
Yeah, put it on video so you remember it as well.
Welcome back. It is time to go around the grounds, and the Knights have moved off the bottom of the table with a win over the Tigers. Danny Buderus thrilled to experience his first win as a head coach.
It's the best day of my career, that's for sure, as a coach. So, yeah, it was the most frustrating, enjoyable, I think, experience I've I've had. You know, from a player, obviously you're in the game and you can take control a little bit, but when you're up the top there, you're just riding it so hard. And, it's fun. Yeah, it was great. But I just know the year that we've had as a group, and it's been emotional. It's been up and down, and to have that feeling every week would be great fun. But I know it's not like that. Obviously, I know what the other end of the spectrum is, where we've just been hanging on. So, but no, hopefully we'll be around the club in years to come, and I'm sure there'll be an appointment pretty soon from a coach.
Celebrating 15th position, the Newcastle Knights. So they got themselves off the bottom of the table, and Coach Danny Buderus was super happy. Look at this, hey? That just makes you smile, watching one of the game's true gentlemen and great legends. And there he is, Tariq Sims, ice over himself.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't.
How can you not like that?
Because it's still 15th position.
You probably don't believe in Santa Claus either, do you?
Come on.
Time now to get all the latest league news from north of the border with Ben Dobbin from Triple M. Hello, Dobbo.
Yeah, good evening, guys. How are we?
Very good. Now, you're thinking the Knights are getting very close to settling on their next coach.
Yeah, they are certainly close, Ben. Only two left in the race for this one, and it's Nathan Brown and Anthony Griffin. They've both had an interview each and have been called back for a second interview. What I can tell you is my understanding is that Anthony Griffin is very much at the forefront of this race to be the Knights coach in 2016, which would be huge. Obviously, he departed Brisbane last year. He's had a year off. He has committed to Redcliffe, but in the Intrust Super Cup next year. But from talking to Redcliffe, they're more than happy to give him his blessing should he coach the Knights in 2016.
Yeah, that'd be big for Anthony Griffin.
Dobbo, let me just go back to that first question, mate, about Anthony Griffin. What's he going to do different at Newcastle? What's he learned that's going to make him a different coach than when he was at Brisbane?
Yeah, Kenny, look, I think that Anthony actually really sees where he went wrong, and the big one is the recruitment. What I understand is that he's had the discussions about the recruitment, that he needs to be a bit more hands-on with it. I know that he let other people heavily involved in the structure of how he bought Brisbane. We saw Martin Kennedy come, we saw Ben Barber come. Obviously, he was hinging on that, but he also unearthed a bloke by the name of Ben Hunt when no one believed it. So he's very much in that recruitment process. What I do know is that he was born in Rockhampton, and he's been involved, and that's a sort of a country town like Newcastle. Brisbane's a one-team town. He's been in the best setup there possibly can be, which is the Brisbane Broncos. And I'm not saying he failed. He got them to a prelim. He had a couple of lean years. What he believes that from experience and his coaching, that he's a big chance of improving that, and it'll all to be do with the roster and the salary cap.
Yeah, very good, Dobbo. Thanks for your insight north of the border. We'll catch you next week.
Hey, just quickly, am I the legend that you've got up here tonight, or is there someone else?
All right, moving on. Thanks, Dobbo. See you, buddy. No, he's right about the recruitment. I mean, any coach worth his salt knows what Jack Gibson made famous, I think, back in the 80s, and that is that the best coaches are the best recruiters. Yeah, exactly. Because players win comps. It's not the other way around. Yeah,
it's interesting, though, that Anthony Griffin can see the error of his ways, and he sold that to Newcastle, and they believe... Well, we believe that they understand that and they accept that, but just wanted to know exactly what it was.
Time for yet another one of our little games. Pens at the ready, kids. It's time to play Which Coach is Happy, Which Coach is Upset? Watch closely because it might be tough to work out. First up, it's Danny Buderus.
Yeah, it's the best day of my career, that's for sure.
Okay. Next contestant is Ricky Stuart.
Yeah, I've got my thoughts on it, mate. Not the time to discuss it now, though.
Can you pick it, kids? It's a tough one. Yes, Danny was super excited to have his first win as a coach, but he couldn't take all the credit. He again had one of the great songwriters of our time, Stevie Wonder, helping him tactically. Me thinks Danny might be more of a Ray Charles fan.
Welcome to Toyota Monday Night Football as we wrap up round 24 of the National Rugby League. Tonight from Amy Park, the Melbourne Storm play host to the Newcastle Knights. The Storm, well, they've had a good last month of football, winning 4 from 5 matches, and they put themselves back in the hunt for a top 4 spot, that is for sure. A little bit of rain around at Amy Park here this evening, but we are in the dry. But what about the boys out there on the field? They're going to have to contend with a wet field, that's for sure. I'm Matt Shervington alongside Greg Alexander and Braithen Astor. Newcastle Knights, Braith, the head-to-head not good against the Storm, but they do, especially recently, like to surprise them, don't they?
You know, they've got a bad record here, the Newcastle Knights against the Storm, but they've won twice out of the last 4 times that they've met, and they do want to not get the wooden spoon. You talk about Melbourne Storm playing for a top 4 berth. Well, I know as a player who's been in the position before, you don't want to get the wooden spoon, so there's plenty of incentive for them tonight to win the match.
Yeah, we saw that with the Titans over the Raiders yesterday, that's for sure. Okay, let's get all the latest team news right now, brought to you by H&R Block, tax accountants. They don't miss a thing. Good evening, Andy Raymond.
So much to play for tonight, but for very different reasons. For the Melbourne Storm, possibly they can move into 4th. For the Newcastle Knights, it's the wooden spoon. So what's the motivator? Is it premiership points or is it personal pride? They're both very powerful motivating aspects. This is the way the two sides will take the field here on Monday Night Football. And we start with the Storm in the back 3, Marika Korobiti, Cameron Munster and the returning Matt Duffy. Hasn't he been great in his 4 games? The centres, Will Chambers and Kurt Mann. The halves, once again, Blake Green and Cooper Cronk. The front row, Jesse Bromwich, Cameron Smith and Tim Glasby. The back row, there is one change, of course, no Dale Finucane, so it's Kevin Proctor, Kenny Bromwich and Tohu Harris. Christian Welsh is out on the bench, so the bench is now Hinchcliffe, Kafusi, Big Nelson, Asofa Solomona in 18 and Jordan McLean in 19. The coach is Craig Bellamy. For the Newcastle Knights, the back 3, Nathan Ross, Jake Mamo and Aku Uarte, Sione Matautia and Dane Gagai are the centres. The halves, Kirk Gidley and the soon-to-be-departing Tyrone Roberts. Kate Snowden, Adam Clydesdale and Corbin Sims are the front 3. Beau Scott is out. Chris Houston comes into the second row with Jeremy Smith and Tarek Sims as part of your back 3. The bench is Tyler Randall, Joseph Tarpini, Clint Newton and Sam Mataora. In Melbourne, the Storm have dominated the recent clashes. In fact, they have won 11 of the last 12. Tonight, Kirk Gidley moves into equal second place for most games ever for the Knights. He joins the great Andrew Johns on 249. Just a couple of weeks left for Kirk Gidley. What about the size of Nelson Asofa Solomona? He's in jersey 18 out there at the moment in the fluoro yellow boots. 19 years of age, 122 kilos, 6'7". Now, this is a true story because you know I don't tell fibs. He is that big that on a recent trip to New York, he visited the Statue of Liberty and other tourists were taking selfies with him. Kick off in half an hour.
Now, that's definitely not an exaggeration, that's for sure. Okay, let's go back to Andy Raymond right now with the Newcastle Knights coach, Danny Buderus.
Yeah, here with Danny Buderus. A really positive last start win. You needed it, the players needed it, the club needed it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun, it was enjoyable, it was emotional for the players and everyone involved at the club. It's been one of those years, that's for sure. It's we had a lot of downs, more than ups, and we want to finish the year on an up, so this is one of those steps.
You showed emotion on the footy field. You showed emotion in the dressing room. Unbelievable scenes, fabulous scenes that there's character. You know, there was high fives, there was hugging, there was laughter, you know, the whole lot.
Yeah, that's where you play the game. There's some fight left in this team. There's some really good individuals there. We've just got to get them having some combinations in defence, which they're starting to come, and getting some continuity of the players playing back-to-back weeks, which is really good to see. The team starting to pick itself, and that's when it gets fun for the players.
I guess you're under no illusions about how difficult the task is tonight.
Yeah, we're playing against a team that's honing their skills for a semi-final berth. They had a really good win last week. Everyone knows when you come down here, you need to try and quicken the ruck up. They're just so well drilled, well coached, and you've got some of the best players in their position. So it's going to be a tough night, that's for sure.
We wish you well, pal.
Thanks, mate.
We do wish Daniel Buderus and, of course, the Newcastle Knights the best tonight. Will the headlines read back-to-back? Bedsy, who knows? Maybe the Knights can create another upset here at Amy Park against the Melbourne Storm on the hunt for a top 4 spot. Stay with us, the build-up continues.
So now attention to the Newcastle Knights, and Kurt Gidley brings up a bit of a milestone tonight. He joins Andrew Johns on 249 games. The Newcastle Knights, second only to the coach, Danny Buderus, who's the most all of 257.
Yeah, the 15-year career, he made his debut back in 2001, is drawing to a close for Kurt Gidley, and he's been such an important member of this side. And it doesn't matter what position he's played in, whether it's been halfback, 5'8", fullback, at dummy half. He's had a great career with them, and to bring up that milestone tonight, to draw level with Andrew Johns, is a fantastic achievement. They'll need him to be playing good tonight if they're going to upset the Storm.
And there are some great battles on the field tonight. Jake Mamo will certainly feature in one of them, because the 21-year-old who hails from the central coast of New South Wales is an excitement machine. He's only played 7 games so far this season, but he's ready to bust out, I think, for a massive season next year.
We've got 2 great emerging young fullbacks on show tonight, haven't we, with Kurt Munster for the Melbourne Storm. But Jake Mamo, great mover, terrific athlete, exceptionally fast. I guess Newcastle, after a handful of games last year, were deciding which was his best position. Sione Matty seemed to have the jump on him at fullback, but once Kurt Gidley left that spot and was moved into the halves, Danny Buderus has certainly realised what potential Mamo has and has picked him at fullback, and he's very exciting when he's got the ball, there's no doubt about that.
And most people are expecting the Newcastle Knights to come down here and just be a bit player, just play their role and go home with a big loss. Well, they might have what happened last year up there in Newcastle against the Melbourne Storm in mind, Shirvo. A big win and at the death against the Melbourne Storm up there last year.
Yeah, you're so right, Woz, that's for sure. It may be a tough year for the Newcastle Knights, that's for sure, in 2015, but they have a number of youngsters that they can lean on in the future, that's for sure. OK, let's get straight to a tab update right now. And Jamie Rogers, you've got a multi on the hunt, and it's a big one.
Yeah, it certainly is, Shirvo. Well, this week it's a 7-leg multi. With the final leg, they've taken Melbourne to cover the 20.5 line, which is what it was at the start of the round, into the total points to be over 44.5, to turn $5 into just over $20,000. Or they can cash out now for $6,500. I will let you know later on tonight on the Matty John Show what they decided to do. We're taking a look at tonight, and it's all Newcastle. We saw Parramatta upset Manly yesterday, and our customers think that another upset is on the cards. They've been well supported, $7.50 now into $6, with Melbourne there at $1.14. The line is now at 18.5, $1.90 each of 2. Well, you can check out all these markets at tab.com.au.
Thank you, Jamie. OK, let's get our tips right now. Andy Raymond, which way are you leaning?
I'm no longer worried about the result of the game. I'm more worried about what happens during the game. I've just got a text message from Braithen Astor. He reckons it's so cold here, we're going to have to spoon on the sideline. What? Put me down for Melbourne.
Oh, my goodness. What is that all about?
I can't wait. That actually sounds comfortable.
You send that text?
If he's up for it, I am.
Well, no, you're up for
tips,
anything.
all right? Let's
Okay,
just get to the tips. Things are getting awkward here, Shirvo. No, for the Knights, well, the Knights are the worst defensive team in the competition. For my Melbourne are the second best. 30 points last week, the 2 against Cronulla. I see that as a bit of a mismatch. I can't see where the Knights are going to score their points or outscore Melbourne, so I'll lean towards Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Melbourne as well. What about you, Woz and Brandy?
I'm just happy it's always warm up here in the commentary box as things turn out. Very comfy down there on the sideline, quite obviously. I'm going to say the Melbourne Storm.
With the top 4 spot beckoning, I think the Melbourne Storm should be good, as long as they're not looking forward to the big matches they've got coming up with the Cowboys and the Broncos. But if their eyes on the job tonight, they should be too good.
Well, there you go, Braith. No spooning for Woz and Brandy. No spooning for me either. Well, let's talk about the Knights really quickly, because their attack this year hasn't been bad. Yeah. They know how to score some points. Defensively, not good at all. So how are they going to battle the wrestle of the Melbourne Storm tonight?
That's who it's going to be when I lost. You mentioned their attack. They've scored over 20 points in 9 games this year and still lost. So their defence has got to be much improved against the Melbourne Storm, who scored 30 points last week, as I just said, against the Sharks. So it's a huge challenge. Tyrone Roberts, for mine, was great last week. It was his best game of the year, and that's why they won against the Tigers. So all their big guns have got to step up.
Yeah, we just saw Danny Buderus revving up his troops there. No, not Daniel, Danny. And of course, we can see Craig Bellamy there revving up his troops. And I'd imagine he would be talking about the top 4 position, that's for sure. It is on the hunt for them in 2015, and there is so much more on the hunt for all of these sides in the competition, because the finals are not far away now. The Melbourne Storm, they want to win this one against the Newcastle Knights. Kick-off after the break on Toyota Monday Night Football.
the ebb and flow of an NRL campaign, there are games you don't want to remember, and then there are games you just can't forget. As Melbourne stares down Newcastle, the memory of how a promising season began to unravel in 2014 comes flooding back.
They've got the numbers here, Uarte! Aquila Uarte! Levels the scores at 30 apiece!
What a finish! Aquila the Thriller hit Melbourne with a stomach punch, and Captain Kurt fired a laser beam through their hearts. The Newcastle crew wants to leave Melbourne's best with an almighty bellyache once again. Live on Toyota Monday Night Football, it's the Storm and the Knights. Yes, the Storm fans are hoping that Mount Vesuvius is silent tonight. The Melbourne Storm in the dressing room. Thanks for joining us here at Amy Park in Melbourne. Warren Smith, Greg Alexander, Braithen Astor and Andy Raymond to bring you all the action of this one. A big game for the Melbourne Storm, Brandy. A chance to move into 4th position on the ladder with their 13th win of the season. But the Knights, as they proved at the end of last year's regular season, got other things in mind tonight, looking to play the spoiling role here this evening.
Well, it's some sort of motivation, a top 4 spot up for grabs for the Melbourne Storm here at Amy Park. They're up against a side that's had a pretty bleak winter, only 3 wins since round 4. But the last of those was against the West Tigers last Saturday afternoon. So they come here with a little bit of confidence. Tyrone Roberts certainly looks like he's been freed up since he's made the decision to go to the Gold Coast Titans. It was only 2 years ago that he steered the Newcastle Knights to a finals win down here at Amy Park. How quickly things have turned around, but he was much better last week, a lot busier with the football, came up with 2 tries, and if Tyrone Roberts was the best of the back line last week against the Tigers, Jeremy Smith was the pick of the forwards. And up against his old club, I'm sure he's got something special for them.
Yes, he especially has plenty of motivation tonight of the Newcastle Knights here at Amy Park. Here we are, 10 seconds to go.
What a win.
What a win for the Knights. What a win for Danny Buderus. They're still looking for a full-time coach, Newcastle. But what a win tonight. They have upset the apple cart of the Melbourne Storm and beaten them 20 points to 6. What a proud man Danny Buderus is. Thrown into the deep end of the pool to finish off the season for Rick Stone, and he comes up with back-to-back victories last week against the Tigers and tonight against one of the heavyweights in the Melbourne Storm, whose premiership claims have taken a real beating here this evening. A 14-point win, and it rounds out a remarkable round of rugby league with so much to talk about. It's time to take you to the Clive Churchill studio. Here is Monday Night with Matty Johns.
Yeah, cheers, Was. What about the Newcastle Knights, hey? How good are they going? They're laughing. Get that up, yeah. Now, tonight we're going to talk about all the injuries over the weekends and what that means for the finals. And we're going to talk about Jared Hayne as well, of course. Let's go. Yeah, welcome to Monday Nights, everyone. And, geez, what a strange round of football. Some monumental upsets and a lot of injuries. Injuries have defined this round of football, and it will have a big effect on the finals, as finals just weeks away. And to make heads and tails of it, we've got Gordy, Hindy and Fletch, everyone. Welcome, boys. Now, an amazing result tonight. The Newcastle Knights 20 over Melbourne 6 at Amy Park. And let's go back there and talk to the man of the match.
Man of the Match, brought to you by Harvey Norman.
Yeah, Matty, the Harvey Norman Man of the Match. $1,000 goes to Knights number 7, Tyrone Roberts. What a win.
Yeah, mate. Our forwards ripped in and laid a platform for us, backs, and our completion was up high, which is a good effort up here on Monday night.
Completion awesome, kicking game superb, mate. Well done.
Yeah, mate. We just had to keep rolling it to our patience.
Yeah.
And if we did that, controlled our game, and not let them play their game, that was a big benefit for us tonight.
2 wins in a row. You've played 2 awesome games. Is it nice in this head of yours that you know what's happening in the future? It's sorted. You don't have to worry where the bills are and how the bills are going to be paid. Concentrate on footy.
Yeah, mate. When it comes around to that sort of stuff, you sort of want to take your mind away from it because it does take a toll on you. And I've got a family to support now, and it's good to get to know where I'm going, and all the family are happy where I'm going now. And I just want to finish on a good note for Newcastle because that's what it's all about. And there's a couple of people that are going away at the moment at the end of the year and retiring, so we want to send them out on a good note as well.
Awesome. Let's put the headphones on. That was the easy part, taking the $1,000 is sweet. Going to hand you over to the studio, boys. Matty, Johns, what a performance from Tyrone.
Hey, Tyrone, congratulations, mate. Been a difficult season for you personally and the club, but that one tonight, that was the best win of the year.
Yeah, mate. It's always hard to come up to Monday up here in Storms, but we did it last year, and mate, boys, we needed to rip in and just show them that we control it to our game, which was benefit for us.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Now, before I let you go, Danny Buderus, for you personally, what sort of differences he made, Tyrone?
For me personally, he's a role model because I watched him in the stands when I was 14, and I looked up to him, and he's a legend of this club. And if you let him down, you're not only letting him down, you're letting yourself down because he's one of the boys. Yeah, we're looking at scenes there in the dressing room, mate. Tyrone, get in there, mate. Enjoy the win. Hey, and good luck next year at the Gold Coast, mate. You're a talent. There it is, 20-6, and that is a big upset. Without a shadow of a doubt, 20-6 the Newcastle Knights, and it's been a round of upsets. We'll get some shots out of the sheds at Newcastle. Of course, a big win tonight. And I tell you something, people, no matter how professional a sport is or how much of a business people say it is, the most crucial thing in rugby league is you've got to enjoy yourself. You've got to enjoy the company and mates. Look at that bloke. And this has been sadly missing for the Newcastle Knights for too long. So well done to Danny Buderus and the way you've solidified that player group.
On this day in 1998, Knights, Blues and Kangaroos winger Adam Manshakes MacDougall hit the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Mad Dog allegedly smashed the protein bar containing an illegal substance, resulting in an 11-week ban. MacDougall didn't let this little hiccup hinder him, retiring in 2011 after a career spanning 195 NRL games. Mad Dog has spent the last 4 years becoming a shadow of his former self. Expect to see him fight in the flyweight division in Rio in 2016. In 2001, the Knights were back in the headlines after a rather boisterous Ansett flight from Townsville to Williamtown. We can't work out if they were celebrating a victory or they were just ecstatic to be getting out of Queensland. Joey and some of the boys celebrated a little too hard whilst being a mile high, so to speak. In fairness to Joey, if Matty was my brother, I'd be tossing them back too.
Joey, you ever hang around the gymnasium?
Danny Buderus continues to turn around the Knights. Hear his future plans after their stunning upset against the Storm.
Caretaker Knights coach Danny Buderus insists he's not ready to take on the role full-time, despite turning around the club's on-field fortunes. With retiring captain Kurt Gidley pulling the strings, Newcastle out-muscled the Storm 20-6 for their second straight victory.
It's fantastic, it's emotional, it's nerve-wracking, but you feel alive, that's for sure. I'm not willing to reconsider. Hopefully down the track, if this is as good as it can feel, why wouldn't you want to do it?
The loss could cost Melbourne a place in the top 4, with games against the Cowboys and Broncos to come.
Newcastle did a massive favour for Souths last night, stunning the Melbourne Storm with a 20-6 victory. The Knights' win kept the Rabbitohs in 4th, ahead of the Sharks on 4 and against. The Roosters lead. Manly is now 1 win behind the Dragons in the battle for 8th, with 2 games to play. And our league insider Blues coach Laurie Daly tipped 4 from 8 winners in round 24.
It's all right, I want to show you a happy coach, sad coach in the NRL, with Newcastle springing an upset on Melbourne last night. Interim Knights coach Danny Buderus, look at it, absolutely loving. I love Danny Buderus. High fives all round. The team hoops, they're just playing for him, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he looks like he's won lotto, and rightly so, Bedsy. They could well dodge the wooden spoon now.
Side, this is Craig Bellamy. This is half-time. We can't show you what happened at full-time because it was slightly too graphic.
Well, the ex-Melbourne Storm, Larrikin, Brett Finchtone, always tells the story that if you're behind at half-time playing for Melbourne, they hand out raincoats and umbrellas on the way into the change rooms at half-time, because front row, you'll be covered in saliva. You'll need goggles to get back out through the playing race.
Go back to Danny Buderus, because he's just such a great story from Newcastle, a great personality, and obviously those guys, sure, he's making sure that people know he's the interim coach. Why doesn't he want the gig? Why wouldn't he take it? He's won 2 out of the 4. He's got them up.
Yeah, it's a terrific question, Tone. I think he just enjoys his current role. When he was living life as an assistant, he achieved everything as a player. He was a Dally M medal winner, absolute winner for the New South Wales Blues, premierships for the Knights. I don't think he wants the stress and the heartache and the unnecessary heart palpitations that all head coaches go through. He loves life, you know, just a little bit outside the fast lane.
All right. It's still likely to be Nathan Brown?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Okay, still to come. Plenty more right here on Wild Turkey Bourbon Super Saturday. There it is. The Knights up against the Bulldogs. The Knights on a roll, really. They're going for 3 straight. It's going to be an emotional night up there in Newcastle for Kurt Gidley. Of course, 250 games in his last home game as well. Storm up against the Cowboys. This is an important one as well. It'll shape the middle of that top 8. The Cowboys looking to maintain their minor premiership hopes in the top 3, and then Super Saturday full time, where you have a chance to win $2,000. We're going to announce that in full time, and all you need to do is answer this simple question: who has been the most improved player in the NRL in 2015? Using the code word CHANGE in your answer, 10 words or less, and we'll announce the winner of that competition in Super Saturday full time. Now, the Knights and the Bulldogs, let's get the team news.
Well, Shirvo, I'll be honest, about 5 weeks ago when I found out I'd be calling this match in round 25, I thought, well, it's old boys' day, it's normally a pretty good game. But over the last couple of weeks, this has become a colossal clash, with Danny Buderus now coach, club legend, Kurt Gidley's 250th game, Knights coming off 2 straight victories against a Bulldogs side which has struck form. This is one of the best matches of the weekend. And the atmosphere that's already generated here, I'd be very surprised if the clash didn't live up to expectations. Let's have a look at the sides as they will go into today. And at Newcastle, well, they were expecting to lose Jeremy Smith. That's the case with a hamstring problem. Chris Houston comes into the side at lock. They're also starting with Tyler Randall, no Adam Clydesdale today, and Danny Levi comes onto the bench. So too Sam Mataora. And as far as the Bulldogs are concerned, well, they are 1 through 17. I did spot Josh Reynolds here at the ground earlier, but he's definitely not part of the 17 today. So still a week away from coming back from that injury, Josh Reynolds. So as far as the game is concerned, so much at stake. Yes, look, the Knights are out of finals contention, but it's a milestone day. They've won 7 of their last 9 against the Bulldogs here in Newcastle. I fancy their chances. This is going to be a good clash.
Absolutely, Vossi. It's going to be an amazing clash, an emotional night for the Knights.
Yeah.
Kurt Gidley, 250th, last home game. Yep. Old Boys Day up there in Newcastle. They love it when that comes around. The fans are packing the stadium. So is that leaning the way of the Knights, do you think, in terms of that emotion?
Look, me personally, I'm going the Knights. Yeah, I think Kurt Gidley, with the esteem he's held in by the playing group, by the fans, by the staff, you've already seen what they've responded to with Danny Buderus as far as effort and emotion. Well, I think you'll be able to double that. They've already got the building block of the wins against the Tigers. The Storm last week, that was their best performance by a country mile, and you can see here all the old boys parading around with their families. It's a great day. I've been up there and I've played against Newcastle on Old Boys Day, and I tell you what, they are a different team.
It is the worst possible time for the Bulldogs to play them. Like when you look at it, as you mentioned, old boys, Kurt Gidley and all the rest. For mine, my question mark is, can they win 3 in a row, and can they play as good as they did last week against Melbourne? Because they're coming up against a team who's in really good form in the Canterbury Bulldogs. We know they're going to turn up because they're playing for top 4, possibly a top 4 spot as well. So they're reaching their peak at the right end of the season. Can they win again and put in a performance similar to last week as they did in Melbourne? I don't know how much that took out of them. They were happy. Obviously, they were over the moon with that victory.
Jeremy Smith's a big loss, particularly the big forward pack of the Bulldogs. When you lose someone like Jeremy Smith, that makes it a bit harder through the middle. But I do really believe, Shirvo, that I think Newcastle will get home today.
Yeah, we just saw John Morris there walking for Old Boys Day. He must be a busy boy. He's played through at least 3 clubs, hasn't he, for Old Boys Day?
Brace done it. He's got sore legs.
Yeah, that's true.
I've got it all ahead of me. I can't wait to get all the Old Boys Days.
Yeah, OK. Well, let's speak to the man of the moment, Kurt Gidley, and Des Hasler, the coach of the Bulldogs as well.
Man of the moment. Kurt, you can't just treat this like another game in your career, can you?
No, it's not another. I mean, I've got to treat it as far as my approach to another game. You know, I need to do my job within the team, need to defend well, need to communicate with the boys, but it's not just another game for me, you know, deep down. You know, emotions are a good thing for me. I've grown up in Newcastle, been really passionate about, Newcastle and our fans and representing the Newcastle Knights, and especially being captain for a number of years now. So it's a pretty special day.
Okay, I'm putting you on the spot on game day. It may be tough. What about a highlight of your Knights career here in Newcastle? A great moment for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been plenty. I debuted here on a Friday night, which is a long time ago now, but I guess the most recent ones stick in your mind, and probably the Melbourne one last year where we won after the siren was a pretty special one.
And one other thing, I remember Kurt Gidley, the butcher. Yeah. I mean, that's going way back. I mean, you're part of the community. You're off the field, you're part of the community. I mean, what a life you've lived in football in this great city.
Yeah, well, look, I went from school into a butcher's apprenticeship at Delmore Vale Shopping Centre, and I still remember the day when I was working at the shop and Michael Hagan rang and asked me what I'd be doing that weekend, and I said probably butchering and playing reserve grade, but he was asking me to play first grade on Friday night, so it was something I'll never forget, and Hayes giving me my first opportunity, and it's been a great ride.
Well, Kurt, going to be great fun calling you on Fox Sports today. All the best for the final game here in Newcastle.
Thanks very much.
Well, OK, let's go back to Newcastle right now. Here's Andrew Voss and Gary Belcher for a quick preview.
Well, Shirvo, we thought for the preview we'd come back down outside the ground because we heard there was a lot of people still out the front. There is. It's a great atmosphere. This is an enormous challenge for the Bulldogs. I know they're the favourites, Gary, and I thought their form last week was great, but now I'm not so sure. Perhaps South Sydney aren't such a good guide. Am I being unfair?
Well, after the Rabbitohs got smashed by Brisbane, maybe not, but they've won 3 in a row, the Dogs. I think it'll be a better test today, and I'll tell you after the game, Vossi, how good the Dogs are going, because I know this Newcastle Knights side, being Kurt Gidley's 250th game, his last home game, they will be fired up.
Yeah, and just on Kurt Gidley, this is fantastic. The shields they've been handing out to the fans today, thanks Gids, and on the back is a message written by the man himself, Kurt Gidley. It's a great message about his life here in the Knights, thanking the fans. I mean, that emotion, this is a huge milestone game that has to fire up his teammates.
That says for me a lot about Kurt Gidley, the man and the player and the community here, because this could be his statistics as you'd normally expect to find. Yeah. But it's just a message to the fans about how much he's enjoyed what they've done for him and for the Knights.
I would say the job of the Bulldogs today then is to try and play to the silence, that is, take the crowd out of it, because if Newcastle lead here, might be hard to catch. That crowd will be up all the way through.
Or if they come storming home at some point as well, Vossi. I agree with you totally, but yeah, I think the Knights need to get off to a good start.
All right, so the Knights coming off 2 straight wins, the Bulldogs off 3 straight wins. Now it is time for Gary Belcher's Cbus Super Tip, exclusive to Fox Sports this afternoon.
I'm trying to take the emotion out of it, and I think the Bulldogs, because there is a possibility of them sneaking up into the top 4, a win this week and a win next week.
I almost think I'm letting Kurt Gidley down. If I don't tip Newcastle,
tip the Knights.
Someone has to tip the Knights. I'm going to tip the Knights. I've tipped the Bulldogs all week, but this might be a great day in the history of what is a great footy club. Kurt Gidley, game 250. You're going to see it live here on Fox Sports, Shirvo. This is going to be good.
Yeah, huge. Absolutely. You're right, Vossi. What about you, Braith? It is a tough one to call, isn't it?
It is. It's going to be a tight one again like the last game, but I'm going to take all emotions out of it. The Bulldogs in good form. Their halves are in form. Their pack, Pritchard, Cassiano, Clemmer, all then the likes coming off the bench. They've got the biggest bench in the game. I think they'll run straight through the Knights and they'll be too strong.
Yep. I'm not leaving Vossi hanging. I'm going the Knights. All that emotion. As I said, Old Boys Day. I've played against Newcastle on Old Boys Day. They're a different team. I think they'll get home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Knights as well. I think you're absolutely right. Up there in Newcastle and supporting Kurt Gidley. 150 games for Achille Uarte as well, so there's plenty to play for them. Let's get a tab update right now. Here's Jared Middleton.
Thanks, Shirvo. Well, the Knights have a great record on Old Boys Day. The Dogs are strong favourites here. They've been well back this week to win the premiership as well. The stats suggest there'll be plenty of points. Since round 11, Knights games have averaged 52 a game. Dogs games recently have been high scoring as well, and 4 of the last 5 at Hunter Stadium have been the overs. So the tab stat pick is the over 43.5 there at $1.95. If you fancy a multi, you can take that into the Cowboys 1-12 a little later against a Storm side, which has struggled in recent times, backing up from Monday Night Footy. You're getting just over $6 for that. You can check all the markets on your Tab app on your mobile at tab.com.au. Bet live 133 390, and please gamble responsibly.
Thank you, Middo. Yeah, you're so right. The Bulldogs, we know how well they can play a finals football. They were the grand finalists last year, of course, failing to win against the Rabbitohs. But does that start here today? Their run through to the finals and beyond. The Knights, well, they're going to be emotionally driven. They're up against them after the break. Kick-off right here on Wild Turkey Bourbon Super Saturday.
For Saturday on Fox Sports, great to be with you from Hunters Stadium on what is a big occasion. Old Boys Day, last home game of the season, which has been tough, but they've come good the last couple of weeks. The Knights, they can be proud of how they've displayed their form late in the year. And first to come from behind win against the Tigers, and then even more impressive last Monday night against Melbourne. The Knights keeping the Storm scoreless in Melbourne in the second half. And now they take on the Bulldogs on what is Kurt Gidley's day. And we met it when we said it earlier. It's an honour to be here. This is a great footy club, Newcastle. And this, today, is only the second time that they've seen their own hit a 250-game milestone. And it is his last home game as well. A local boy made good in the Newcastle colours.
Yeah, very special occasion for Kurt Gidley. I'm still not sure what his best position is. He's a utility. He's been all over the place for the Knights, but always done a wonderful job. So it's a really tough ask today for the Bulldogs, because the top 4 position is still a possibility, but they must overcome this emotion-charged Newcastle outfit today on a very special day.
And in the sheds with the Knights, this is their side for their last home game of the year. The back 3 with Mamo at fullback, Nathan Ross. Aquila Uarte has been overlooked. It's game 150 for Uarte today, their best try scorer. Sione Matautia and Dane Gagai in the centres. Gidley lines up in jumper number 6 to lead the side today. Tyrone Roberts, exceptional form the last couple of weeks. And up front, Cade Snowden. Tyler Randall into the starting side with Corbin Sims. They certainly won't be let down with Randall as starting hooker. Beau Scott, Chris Houston in for the injured Jeremy Smith. Tarek Sims has been good for them this year. And the Newcastle bench today, Joseph Tarpany. Clint Newton plays his final game in Newcastle. Sam Mataora and the impressive young Danny Levi, the backup dummy half on the bench. You can see Clint Newton was saying a fair bit in the rooms there at last moment, as the Bulldogs will come out and they will find themselves out in front of what is a very healthy crowd here at Hunters Stadium on a fairly fine Saturday evening, almost full moon out as well. James Graham to take this side out. Now, they haven't won 4 in a row all season, and that is what they are shooting for right here. You talk about timing your run. They get past the Knights. They go into the final round. They win that as well and take 5 straight wins into the finals. That's the plan. They're due to play the Warriors Sunday week, the final game of regular season competition. So James Graham will take them out. He'll take them out to the side to avoid the Farewell Gids banner. Plenty of Bulldogs fans in the crowd as well. In fact, they've almost come out under stealth. I don't think the fans realised they were there. Plenty of travelling Bulldogs fans here to support their team. A ground that hasn't been kind to them. They've won only 6 of 18 here, Gary.
Yeah, well, I think their fans can sense that they are back on a roll or a similar position as they were last year with a couple of weeks to the finals, sitting in 7th, a chance to go even higher up the table. Well, here's the man of the moment.
Yes, this is it for the final time. Kurt Gidley made his debut in a Friday night footy game way back in 2001 against the Dragons. It is his moment. A local junior, the former apprentice butcher, Kurt Gidley, game 250, final match at home, and what a guard of honour there to meet him. Family occasion, family club. And this time next year, he'll be a long way from Newcastle. He'll be representing Warrington. So through the banner he goes with a little bit of assistance from Tarek Sims. What a great shot that is. Thanks Gids here is the hashtag. Great occasion. Played for his country, captained his state, and been a part of this club for so long.
And it's kind of appropriate that the only other man that's passed 250 games for the Knights is his coach, the stand-in coach, of course, the reluctant coach, Danny Buderus. And there's been, I think he's played a big part, Buderus, in the last couple of wins for the Knights. Gids farewells the family, and Back to work he goes, 250th time.
They all have to end sometime. And for Kurt, he's found the try line a few times lately as well. He goes into tonight with 79 career tries. Alex McKinnon among those that were the guard of honour for Old Boys Day. You had the likes of the great Joey Johns walking around the ground pre-match. Not hard tonight to enjoy this one.
Alex McKinnon and the Knights Old Boys farewelled Kurt Gidley in Newcastle. Jake Mamo ran into a coat hanger from Frank the Tank.
Scott's come in and taken a shot at Dogzilla.
Tarek Sims gave the Knights the lead over the Bulldogs before Curtis Rona picked off a Mamo pass and ran away for his 21st try of the year.
What a race. Semi Radradra and Curtis Rona.
The Bulldogs can jump to 5th tonight, but they lost Origin halfback Trent Hodkinson with an arm injury midway through the first half. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
It was shaping as a fairy tale finish for Kurt Gidley. The Newcastle Knights are so close to delivering exactly that. Unfortunately, though, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs held on in a tight one. A good try there from Kurt Gidley, but it wasn't quite enough. The final scoreline, 20 points to 18, and what a last 5 minutes it was up in the Hunter. Let's get straight into the highlights, boys. An outstanding game that was, especially the last 20, but it was bubbling over, wasn't it, the tension?
Yeah, wasn't it what? I tell you what, it was so physical. It was great effort by the Bulldogs. You can't take anything away from them because they come out full of emotion, the Newcastle Knights, and the Bulldogs stuck it to them. I thought their forwards, absolutely outstanding. You think you lost Hodkinson after 25 minutes or whatever it was, to continue on the way they did, an amazing win.
As we bring up our Wild Turkey highlights, Braith, it was a great performance from the Bulldogs, wasn't it, to be able to hang in there after Trent Hodkinson went off early in the first half with what is predicted to be a serious wrist injury.
Yeah, it was. They didn't have much possession either. I mean, both teams fought hard right till the end. Pritchard gets the try there. Newcastle fought back on it with Gidley, and Gidley fought to the end too. And you could see the players really wanted him to win the match for him, but not only that, himself as well. He just turned the match on its head. They were 8 points ahead when Gidley scored this. This is when they got him back into the match, really. And then from here on end, it was a nail biter. It really was. Uarte comes up with a couple of critical errors at the end of the game. I feel sorry for him.
They had the opportunity, Nathan Ross too, off that kick.
Yeah, oh mate.
Tyrone Roberts loops round.
Yeah, they definitely delivered in that match, that's for sure.
Newcastle trailing by 8 and straight through. Kurt Gidley has scored in game 250. Gidley gives the fans something to remember and sets up a grandstand finish.
Look, I wouldn't be the person I am or the player I am without my parents and everything they've done for me. They drove me to every game. I never missed anything as a kid. So to my mum and dad, I can't thank you enough. My grandparents who always supported me during my career. To my beautiful wife and kids now.
What a champion, Kurt Gidley there. 250 games he played tonight. His last game at Hunter Stadium. A phenomenal performance. Unfortunately, didn't get the fairy tale finish. The Bulldogs too good, 20 points to 18, although they gave it one big crack, didn't they? Kurt Gidley, an outstanding performance from him, not just tonight, but long-standing performance for the night.
Yeah, look, and as a person, an absolute champion. Him, along with his coach, Danny Buderus, are probably two of the best blokes I've met in rugby league. All of the characteristics he showed on the field, he always batted above his weight. He was always humble. You got to remember, this guy was Origin captain at one stage. Played many Origins, played for his country. So yeah, he deserved a better finish. But look, the way in comparison to how Newcastle's gone, they tried their absolute guts out and went close against the good team.
And even tonight, like it showed his courage. He brought him back into the game.
Yeah.
He started well. He got that try at the end. You know, to even give him a chance. And I played with him as well, with as you guys with Origin and all the rest of it. He was always one of the fittest players.
Yeah,
competed to the very end. A consummate professional and a great guy, just to add. So
I was going to ask you that, whether you thought he would have been the fittest at any given time in his career.
He was up there.
In the game?
Him and Minnie.
I think so.
Him and Minnie were up there.
Yeah. No, still in great nick, wasn't he? Okay, it is time to relax. It's time for afters, everybody. Time to bring someone that you felt performed extremely well to have a nice relaxing drink, maybe a dance on the podium. What do you reckon?
perform well.
Oh, well,
Where are you talking?
I think you've got a very good performer in yours.
Well, look, Kurt Gidley, I couldn't go past him. I tell you what, he's a great dancer, and one of the main things that made me take him, have a look at this. In the warm-up, there was just a little bit of an indication as to what he really can do. Known for being really good.
Is that his move?
He's just warming up. You know, you just sort of start, just get in a bit of rhythm, and you got to feel it first, eh, Beau?
I don't know. Sort of looked like he was having a stroke or something.
Disturbing, actually. Anyway. Well, speaking of Newcastle, they were outstanding yesterday in the way they competed against the Canterbury Bankstown side, as you point out, and rightly so, because this was a huge day. The last home game is always a big one, an emotional one in front of their fans up there, because it is Old Boys Day, but this one particularly special. Kurt Gidley, his 250th first grade game for the club, taking him a game past the great Andrew Johns, and also before he heads off overseas, his final performance in front of the Newcastle faithful.
Yeah, Gids and Clint Newton also, the last home games, they're two Newcastle products, and come through the system there, and they were outstanding. And they were just the way they competed. Whatever the coach is next year, go talk to Danny Buderus and see what he's done to inspire this team, because for the large majority of the year they didn't look likely. But under Kurt Gidley yesterday, he really had a great game, and he's had a tremendous career for the Knights.
Quite appropriate where you have a look at the total games played for the club. That Danny Buderus was the coach yesterday. He's the only player to have played more games than
and Andrew Johns is on the drink up there on Old Boys Day.
I've got to watching on television. It was one of those days I'm thinking, gee, I wish I was up there to be a part of this, you know. And they do it so well, and to come up with a really good performance. They didn't get the 2 points in the end, but boy, they contributed a really good afternoon up there. So well done to Newcastle, and good luck, of course, to Kurt Gidley. We've still got another game to see him before he does head off overseas. Just quickly on the Newcastle front, there's no doubt that Michael Maguire has been approached by the Newcastle team. He's still got 2 years to go up with South Sydney, of course, so if he was to take up an offered position with the Knights, there would have to be something worked out there. My understanding, again, is if it doesn't work out with Michael Maguire, then Nathan Brown is the leading contender outside of that.
Up next, we pay tribute to night skipper Kurt Gidley as he farewells the Hunter Stadium faithful.
Gidley lines up in jumper number 6 to lead the side today. Kurt Gidley, game 250, final match at home, and what a guard of honour there to meet him.
Out for Johns again, he puts the kick in, that's a try, Kurt Gidley. He is indeed, he gives himself plenty of depth, gets the kick away. I think it's clear. Kurt Gidley, he kicks a freak of a goal.
Kurt Gidley a chance on his outside, throws the dummy, he'll score.
Kurt Gidley gets the try, right behind the upright.
Here's Buderus backing up, a flick pass to Gidley. The only player who can tackle him was Sean Hampstead. Lovely stepping, one footwork, and the flick to match.
Here's a good break down the short side. Kurt Gidley will score. Kurt Gidley scores.
Gidley, big run, Kurt Gidley, support there. Gidley, dummy, and will score.
So to my mum and dad, I can't thank you enough. My grandparents who always supported me during my career. To my beautiful wife and kids now. I can't be prouder to grow up in Newcastle. So thanks very much. I'll be back here one day as a fan. So thank you for all your support during my career. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a man who again can be very, very proud of. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that the first time I saw him was a skinny kid running around. His claim to fame was he was Matt's brother. And you thought, yeah, he might play a little bit of first grade. Well, last night, his 250th. He's captained his state. He's done it all in the game, and he's done it with such style and grace and humble about everything he's done and achieved and gone in his way. It's a shame that he didn't get a win last night, but he did everything that he could, and we expected that. Set up the first try with this little kick to get proceedings underway, and maybe not the fairy tale, but boy, it's been a fairy tale trip for Kurt Gidley that he's created for himself.
Yeah, Kurt was in the age group below me in Newcastle when we were growing up, and he's a skinny kid, and he just worked extremely hard on his footy. You know, he just always worked hard, never gave up, and he's just an example of what Newcastle's about. And even though they lost last night for their old boys, they did it proud. Their effort was fantastic, and that's all they ever asked for up there at Newcastle, just have a go. Really physical game, this one. I thought when Canterbury scored these tries in a row, what an effort here from Damien Cook against a pretty ordinary defence. It was an intercept you saw Curtis Rayner score from. I thought maybe that might be the end of Newcastle, that Canterbury might get away. But that wasn't the case. This ended up being a really good, tough game of footy. Speaking of the winners, Jake, 4 in a row now, the Canterbury Bulldogs. They made the grand final from 7th position last year. What do you make of the Bulldogs coming into finals?
Yeah, I think they're going really well at the moment, and their forwards are, the passing game between their forwards makes it really hard to defend against. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what comes in around the back and that sort of thing. He's an exceptional player. This
had a great finish, this game, and this is how close Newcastle got to possibly getting away with it. They got back to within 2 points after the Kurt Gidley try, and then here with 8 minutes to go, the kick goes up. Nathan Ross, look on your outside, just... Oh, he didn't see Tyrone Roberts.
Do you reckon Tyrone Roberts, he says much to him here?
He did say something, didn't he?
If that was me, he would have heard me from the car park.
But he gets the ball and only one in front of him and thought, well, I can score here. And this, again, when all the momentum was their way, the restart, unfortunately, for Aquila, who played his 150th game as well for the club.
Yeah, and that's a massive effort from Aku. But I've sat and watched Andrew Johns in this very seat question that team about having a go at stages during this year. And that's one thing he couldn't say from the Knights out. Their effort was outstanding. They really did their club proud.
Well, when Danny Buderus took over, he said that he was going to fix up the defensive side of their game, and if you couldn't tackle, you wouldn't be in the team. Well, certainly their last couple of efforts have lived up to that.
A massive blow to Canterbury's premiership hopes with halfback Trent Hodkinson ruled out for the season with a wrist injury. Hodkinson fell awkwardly in the first half as the Bulldogs struggled to overcome the Knights. Coach Des Hasler took issue with the offside rule.
7.5 in.
I didn't know the game had gone back to 5 metres. And in fact, I think I might send Todd Greenberg a breach notice, I think. In fact, I will.
There was no victory lap, but Kurt Gidley capped off his farewell home game with a try.
And Souths coach Michael Maguire is considering an offer to coach Newcastle next season. The Knights deal must be lucrative for Maguire to even contemplate walking away from the final 2 years of his Rabbitohs contract. Former Dragons coach Nathan Brown is the Knights' next option and was interviewed for the second time today. Liam Cox, 10 Eyewitness News.
But first, Jim's here with sport and a Dragons' favourite son affirming for the Newcastle coaching job.
Fergo, Nathan Brown is the front-runner. Good evening to you and good evening, everyone. With South Sydney refusing to release Michael Maguire, Brown is in the box seat, and 7 News can reveal tonight he had a second interview with the Knights today.
The Dogs 20 over the Knights 18. And I tell you what, gentlemen, it was an emotional night in Newcastle. 23,000 people turned up. It was Knights Old Boys Day, but also it was Kurt Gidley's last home game. And he's been such a great player for the club. And you knew that the boys were going to be fired up for this one, the Newcastle Knights, and they didn't disappoint. This was a terrific game of football. And, mate, the Dogs, you've got to tip your hat to the Dogs. Mate, that was a good performance to get home.
It was a good performance against the Knights, considering where they've been all year. But I don't think the Dogs gave them the respect the Knights deserved, especially on Old Boys Day, up at Newcastle. And they took a while to get going, the Dogs. They lost Hodkinson early on in the game. And ever since he went off, Cook was outstanding again. He scored a great try. I think he'd be a great find. But their last play options, the Bulldogs' last play options were very poor. You know, they failed to find, any sort of grass.
Kurt Gidley last home game, he was terrific.
He was good. Got a bit emotional towards the end as well. But champion bloke.
Yep. Speaking of, it was Old Boys Day, and the Newcastle crowd had some signs out there.
Yeah.
And they were quite interesting signs. This is Matt Giddy. I'm not too sure who he is. And this one. Old boys stand tall, supported by Viagra. Do we know who that guy is, Matty?
Yeah, that's my dad, Gary Jones.
Oh, right.
There's Gary and Gail there.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
So see you up there next Sunday, Gaz, for Father's Day. Now, gentlemen, 2 big moments in this one. Firstly, the Frankie Pritchard, bit of a high shot. Now, at first we thought, oh, hang on, this could be a problem here. You could see, look, it's awkward being a big black like Frank on a Jake memo. But you can see by Frank's reaction that it was unintentional. The boys all rushed in there. 75 points, so he won't miss a week there, friend Pritchard. And the other one, this is a big blow for the Bulldogs. Trent Hodkinson, he's been in really good form of late. a dislocated wrist, and he'll miss the rest of the season. Gentlemen, that's a real blow to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it is. I think because his last, say, 6 weeks of footy, he's been really good.
Yeah,
but they're saying Josh Reynolds coming back
this week. Yeah.
And I think Moses Mbye complements Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
More so than.
Well, I tell you what, those three blokes buzzing around the middle. You got young Cook at a hooker, Mbye, and Reynolds. That's a lot of energy.
Well, that's right.
Yeah,
they know they're going to take off or pass. So
yeah, couple of bizarre incidents back into this game, gentlemen. As I said, an emotional night at Newcastle, but they had a streaker on the field. We just have a look at this. The streaker is a fully clothed streaker. Now, I've always the opinion if you're going to do things, do them right. You know, like yeah. So I don't actually know.
That's not called a streaker, though, is it?
No, it's not a streaker, is it?
It's a clothing.
And this one,
that was good.
Adam Deshi's just stamps on Brett Morris. So,
but did you see how Morris got in that position?
Sorry?
Morris got in that position with that massive knee to the Cags.
Oh, was it?
Oh, killed.
Mate. Is there anything worse? Yes, but
yeah,
not a lot.
Yeah, but not on. Yeah.
Now, Hasler, Des was at the press conference. He got $20,000 fine, believe it or not, for these remarks.
I was pretty disappointed with some of the interpretations of the rules. I didn't know the game had gone back to 5 metres. And in fact, I think I might send Todd Greenberg a breach notice, I think. In fact, I will. Yeah, I'm going to send them a breach notice.
Yeah, so Desi there, suspended $10,000 fine from the start of the year, so $20,000 fine.
Wow.
Geez, I can't help but think it's a little bit of an overreaction there. Anyway, let's have a look at some other great...
Game?
Hey?
He won that game.
Yes, he did,
okay.
yeah.
Oi, look at Eastwood! Go, you get Eastwood! Oi, I'll get Eastwood! Get up!
Hey, you have to be the difference.
Oh! I didn't say one, Clint. It was 1 for 1. Yes, boys! Yeah, boys! So, Chase.
Hey, see how we don't run in? See how I don't run in like a bunch of bellends?
Shut up.
Yes! Yes! Come on! Come on!
Yeah, looking forward to that. It's a big Wednesday lineup there. NRL 360, Jeff Tuvey and Kevy Wallace, of course, with Benny Eichen and Kenty. And then, of course, Kenty's mate Sterlo on the couch with Kurt Gidley mic'd up, and Jonathan Thurston is going to be there as well. And, of course, we've got the big weekend following that at 8:30. So, huge night Wednesday night.
Speaking of great Queenslanders, it's time now to get all the latest league news from north of the border with Ben Dobbin from Triple M. Hello, Dobbo.
Yeah, good evening, boys. How are we?
Very good. You've got an update on the Newcastle Knights head coaching position.
Yeah, hasn't this been dragging on? Well, what I can tell you was that Anthony Griffin, who was right in the mix, he withdrew himself last week. He's going to coach the Redcliffe Dolphins in the Intrust Super Cup next year and felt that that was the best progression for him to improve as a coach. What I can tell you with Michael Maguire ruling himself out to his players and publicly a statement coming from South that Nathan Brown will coach the Newcastle Knights in 2016. They can deny it now, but you've heard it here first. He will coach there next year.
PK, we were just with Nathan Brown. He's about to go on Sterlo. He said nothing.
He's playing very cute.
Hey?
He was playing a little bit cute. And it was interesting asking him about the job. He knew a fair bit about it. But anyway, hey, we don't know anything.
Next up, the Newcastle Knights are, as you can see here on the graph, started the season on fire, winning their first 4 games, and it all just went very bad until they find themselves now sitting in 16th position. They get a chance to get off the bottom of the ladder, of course, in that game against the Panthers this weekend. Only 4 wins at home. Fewer since 2007, and that's generally a fortress for them up there at Hunter Stadium. 174 points conceded in the opening 20 minutes. So that's the most of any team in the competition, meaning that their starts have been poor and 9 losses when scoring 20 points or more. So they can get across the line, PK, but still lose. And that goes to show that their defence has not been what it needs to. I think 15th this year in the defensive rankings, and they've conceded 25.3 points per game. Only the Titans are worse.
Yeah, well, you can't go conceding 25 points a game and hope to challenge, can you?
No.
Look, I think there's a lot of positives for the Knights. This year they've realised the error of their ways. I think this was just they made some poor decisions at the start of the year and over the last summer. They've realised that. They're now in the hunt for a new coach. We believe it's going to be Nathan Brown.
What will he bring? What will Nathan Brown bring to the Newcastle Knights?
He will be able to identify where they're getting it wrong now. Their junior development is a shambles at the moment.
Which is a strength of Nathan Brown's. He started in recruitment at the Dragons and was apparently very, very good in the role.
Yes. So one of the real keys about being an NRL coach is you have to be able to identify a footballer. And that sounds a little bit too simple. But there are some coaches who don't really know that area and aren't able to go into junior carnivals and say, this kid or that kid, they're the ones we want. And it is a little bit fraught with danger, that sort of talent identification. But Nathan Brown knows his footballers, and he knows that their junior development is a problem at the club at the moment, and they know that they've got to just turn that around from the ground up. This is a club that needs to be rebuilt completely. There's not a quick fix for Newcastle, so when you get a guy in to do the job, he has to know exactly what buttons to push, what buttons to ignore. And I think they've got that.
Time for a break on NRL 360, but make sure you stick with us on Fox Sports 501. Sterlo on the couch is going to feature Clint Newton and Kurt Gidley mic'd up.
Shut up. And they're taunting us here.
Joining me off the top of the show is coach in waiting, Nathan Brown from the Daily Telegraph, James Hooper, and a man we haven't seen for a little while, but I'm sure he's been keeping a very close eye on what's happening at West, former coach Mick Potter. Good evening, gentlemen. But I want to start, Brownie, a little bit earlier tonight on NRL 360. Ben Dobbin, who gets very, very good mail, had this to say about the Newcastle coaching position.
What I can tell you, with Michael Maguire ruling himself out to his players and publicly a statement coming from South that Nathan Brown will coach the Newcastle Knights in 2016. They can deny it now, but you've heard it here first. He will coach there next year.
Heard it there first. You heard anything, Brownie?
No, as it stands at the moment, Sterlo, I've been through a number of interview processes, which you've probably read about, but the Knights are going through their due process, and at some stage in the near future they'll make a decision, but they haven't put a 1 day, 10 day, 5 day timeline.
You've got the job. You just heard it.
Well, hopefully Ben's right.
What about, you had an interview Monday, I believe. Yeah. How did you interview this time? Did you give yourself a pass, mate?
I'm never too sure of these interviews, Sterlo, but look, they've gone through a lot of work with, obviously, interviewed a numbers of coaches. They've asked lots of questions about numbers of coaches, and the guys that are there are all successful in different ways, so they'll go through their process, and obviously, hopefully, I've interviewed well, hopefully.
All right, good luck. But
thank you.
Dobbo heard it here first. Going to look back now on Saturday's clash at Hunter Stadium, which was a very emotional and physical affair when the Knights took on the Bulldogs. And we were right in the middle of it, thanks to Clint Newton and Kurt Gidley.
So thanks very much. I'll be back here one day as a fan, so thank you for all your support through my career. Thank you.
Hey boys, it's Clemmer, Cassiano, they're all big, get your body in front. Does not change from last week. Nearly every one of us played last week, and it's effort. Effort got us that. Effort getting in the tackle, effort getting back. Makes it so much easier. Boys, good feeling here. It's exactly the same feel as last week.
Yes, this is it for the final time. It is his moment. Kurt Gidley, game 250, final match at home, and what a guard of honour there to meet him.
Yay!
Bye-bye. Mwah. Mwah. There you go.
Come on, babe.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Love you.
Super Saturday continues from Hunter Stadium. Bulldogs get it underway with Hodkinson.
Let's go, Snow! Go, Snowy! Go, Jake! Go, Jake! Yes! Yes! Get up! Get up! Get up! Go, Rossi! Steele! Steele is set! Steele! Oi, you're at Eastwood! Go, you get Eastwood! Oi, you're at Eastwood!
Mbai goes for a lower kick, and Momo's been caught Gidley, the man of the moment's in the thick of it.
I didn't throw one, Frank. It was 1 for 1. Right, Jakey? Yeah, all good.
He's got the distance on it. The Dogs take no chances there. And a line dropout. And there the ball is lost by Snowden.
Hey, Hasler, defend our error. Snowy, defend our error.
It's a really scrappy game. So when we get on, we've got to just go back to grinding away. Because I reckon if we get in a cycle, I don't know whether they'll be able to go with us.
Cut him off! Cut him off! Ready, set, go, go, go! Me and you, James Brown, both of us. Ready, Beau? Go. Hot dog, Jake!
As now Gidley kicks over the top. Ross is getting through. It's gone past him. Sims will pick it up and score.
Yes, boys. Yeah, boys. Great chase. Yeah, Taz. Great chase. Hey, Nate. I need the small tee. I need the small tee. Adam, I'm not wasting time. I'm getting a different tee. Thanks, mate.
First kick, game 250. Kurt Gidley. There's a script for you. Snowden takes that hit up.
Snowy, run harder than that. Great set. Tee, great kick. Talkie, get up. Get up. Jake, kick in the middle. Go.
Anything? No, it's just fast. Just keep going behind the rock.
Okay.
Gidley out the back. Maymo intercept. And now Rona's away. He's got to start. Maymo's too far back to catch him. Roberts is flying across. Rona gets there.
Get up. Hey, that could be the difference. Right?
Hey, let it go now. Let it go. Let it go. Don't be last off this. Don't be last. Respond.
Jackson busy so far. Morris.
Hey, see how we don't run in? See how I don't run in like a bunch of bellends?
Shut up.
Hey, they're challenging us here. They're challenging us. Bo, let's go, me and you.
Botho. Might have done me rib.
Got to come off.
Nah.
Here he is to the right. Hodkinson and away and straight through Laffer.
One mark from it.
On the needle.
Yeah. That feels like it's between the base, so it's probably the cartilage. I just want to make sure you hadn't cracked the rib.
Hey, momentum's against us. You got to stick in the hard stuff. Stick to the hard stuff.
9 minutes remain first half. As off goes Cook. What a run from Cook and what a run all the way to the try line.
That's no good. Get tighter. Hey, they're not doing nothing flash. They're just building pressure. Hey, respond here. Sammy, Danny, response. Taz, come here. Send it, red. Taz, red. Hot dog.
Pritchard gets them going. Morris on to Rona. Taps on Uwate and over the sideline.
Yes, Gags. Great chilling. Great chilling. Chucky, great work.
14-6. Half-time. Home team trails by 8.
Come on, Gags. Chucky, wind this crowd up. Wind this crowd up.
Now we're ready.
Drive me back. Drive me back.
And that's a good drive from the Knights.
Up the tempo, screwdriver. Hey, Nido, wind up this one.
Last tackle, Knights. Roberts has got it over the top and on the fingertips.
Good chase. Boys, direct! Are you serious?
Shut up.
Super! Go, Nido! Go!
And then Corbin Sims has come up at Brown from behind and said, "Who are you?"
Mate, that's high. First play. He's our set. Hey, he's our set. Run with purpose.
Snowden with the ball. Clemmer has him there. Clemmer wants the figure 4 leg lock and now penalised.
Yes, no way. Got to go. There's your mark.
Double red off. Benny, double red off you.
Levi Roberts' kick came off the leg and Ross has scored!
Yes! Yes! Go, Rossi! Get Rossi! Come on! Come on!
Last tackle, Newcastle. Roberts wants a good one. Again, it will come down short of the line. They fly up early.
Yes! Yes! He's got it! Yes! Yes! Yes, great kick! That's what I want. Great kick!
But decision confirmed. No try.
Knock on? Yeah, knock on. Hey, there's no secret to where we're going. Hard and direct. Hard and direct. Hard and direct.
They may try to just dribble it in goal. Don't worry about that. Pritchard! Big Frankie!
Hey, it's a real arm wrestle here. There goes with one punch here. Back to arm wrestle again, okay? It's the only way to go.
Newcastle trailing by 8 and straight through. Gidley has scored. Full time. Canterbury 20. Newcastle 18.
Started here and get to finish here, and I'm just really grateful, mate, to play the game I love, and yeah, it's a dream come true.
Probably just to wrap things up. I can't be prouder to grow up in Newcastle. Just as a kid, I love the town and I love the people, and I can't be prouder to represent this great club and all you people. So thanks very much. I'll be back here one day as a fan, so thank you for all your support during my career. Thank you.
Yeah, a couple of Newcastle boys through and through there, and congratulations to both of them. Long careers in the NRL. I think really appropriate that Clint Newton started at Newcastle and found his way back to where it all began for him. And boy, aren't Warrington getting a quality player and human being in Kurt Gidley going over there. They'll get some great service out of him, no doubt. I want to really thank the Newcastle Knights for that. Danny Buderus, the coach, for allowing us to do it. Tara White, the media lady up there, and also the two boys in Kurt and Clint for allowing us to be a part of that, and we wish them all the best for their futures.
Gentlemen, let's talk about the Panthers and the Knights. 3 p.m. Saturday from Pepper Stadium, and if you're a supporter of both these sides, it's a very important game because, believe it or not, the loser gets the wooden spoon. Hard to believe, Brandy, about the Panthers when at the start of the year, seriously, we'll talk about the Panthers being a top 4 side. This was 2007, the last time that the Panthers got the spoon.
Has it gone pear-shaped for the Panthers this week? And off the back of the Matt Moylan, I know, look, plenty of sides have had injury problems, but I guess Matt Moylan was the key to their attack. Points have dried up, Matty, and I think just playing for so long now with so many injuries has just got the better of them over the last month.
And this is 05, the last time the Knights got the spoon, the only time the Knights have got the spoon. Joey went over to Warrington after that. So, Brandy, next year, 2016 Panthers.
Trent Merrin will be on board.
Yeah.
Tamari Martin, couple of the young players from the Tigers, the under 20s.
Yeah, the young 5'8".
Young Docker Clay from the Eels, who can play dummy half or halfback. Heffernan, young fullback from the Raiders, but Tamari Martin certainly looks good, along with Viliami Kikau, big Cowboys. Young front rower, only 20 years of age, mobile. And here's Martin, very good ball player, Matty, and a good mover.
He's outstanding. And not a lot of, as we said, halves in the competition, particularly sixes. And this guy, he's a ripper. He's a really, really good player. Certainly play a couple of games.
Certainly
outstanding.
A couple of young blokes to keep your eye on over the next year or two. You know, they might get a taste of first grade next year and But they're certainly ones for the future.
And just quickly on departing players for the Knights, Tyrone Roberts, of course, and this man, Kurt Gidley, who has been a great ambassador for the Newcastle Knights and a great competitor. He leaves the club. And for Penrith, there's Tyrone there. He's going to go to the Titans. He's going to be a good pickup for the Titans too. Played some good football the back end of the year. And for the Panthers, of course, Brent Kite, who's missed most of this season with injury, but just been a super player right throughout his career. And this fella as well, Lewis Brown. He goes to the Manly side, so a couple of losses there. Now it's time for our classic match of the night, and we go back to 1999 when, the Penrith Panthers hosted the Knights.
The Panthers, the high-flying Panthers, third on the competition table. And, of course, the fans have come back in their thousands to watch them. 5 tackles gone for Newcastle. On the attack they are. The kick will come. Matthew Johns across the park. Albert's waiting for it. Albert! Oh! He has taken wing! Well, the Chief is not with us at the moment.
You know where you are? You know where we are. Did you hear me blow time on? Did you hear me blow time on or not?
He goes out to Cross, who flicks to Domic. Domic's on the 40-metre line. He beats Rudder. He steps out of another. He beats another. And that's Hicks down the right flank who scored. But what about Sid Domic? 5 tackles gone for Penrith. They're lined across the park. The drop goal by Brandy. It's there. And Penrith are in front by 1 point.
But there's still plenty of time, still 13 minutes. Has Brandy gone too early?
Time back on. Drop goal by Matthew Johns. Doesn't get off the tarmac. It's 15-14. The home side in front. On 5, Johns kicks. Albert's onside on the right of the ground. Oh, the fullback and winger. They haven't communicated. And Billy Peden communicates with the in-goal area to score. As the siren sounds in the background, it is all over. Penrith's run of wins here at the stadium comes to an end. Going down today to Newcastle, 20 points to 15.
Okay, let's talk about the Knights. Massive emotion last week, wasn't there? Kurt Gidley, it was Old Boys Day. They came within 2 points of beating the Bulldogs, and we know the Bulldogs are in the fight in the finals. Emotion won't be in it so much this week. Will they be flat?
It's a really good point you make, Shirvo. I'm very interested to see how they come out and start, because as you said, they put everything in, particularly that first 30 minutes. They gave it everything they got. They had, pardon me, and they just, it's hard to come off the back of that, particularly when you come away with a loss. When you put in that much effort and you come away with a loss, it's hard to get back up again. But, you know, they are playing for the wooden spoon, and that's, you know, I think Kurt Gidley was involved when Joey and all that got it what was it, 2005? 5, was it? Yeah, I remember they were playing us at Cogra over the last game to avoid it, and we just won. So he'll know what it feels like.
Well done, mate.
Yeah, thanks. There you go. Sorry, kids.
Okay, let's catch up with a couple of players now. Josh Mansour, and playing his 200th game of NRL, Beau Scott.
Well, Beau, let's talk about the personal milestone first of all. 200 games, 10 years since the debut. Is the start of it all with Cronulla still fresh in the mind?
Yeah, it is actually. I remember the debut pretty clearly, and I guess it doesn't feel like 10 years ago, but yeah, pretty excited about the 200 games.
Well done on it, and now we reach this final game. The Knights have had a really good month. It would be a shame from their perspective to finish with a wooden spoon.
Yeah, like you said, I think the last couple of weeks have been good from us. We just need to go out and build on the performances we've been turning up with the last couple of weeks.
What wins it for Newcastle today? What do you have to do really well?
I think just possession. No drop balls and no silly penalties, and it'll keep us in the game.
All right, Beau, all the best today, and again, well done on the 200.
Thanks, Fossey.
Yeah, 200 games for Beau Scott, and his last for the Knights. He'll be heading to the Eels next year. Okay, a big evening for Beau Scott. 200th NRL game, last for the Knights. He'll move on to the Parramatta Eels next year. Big game for him, former teammate of yours.
Yeah, huge game for Bowie. Look, he's come a long way. I remember when Bowie was playing reserve grade at the Dragons before he went on to Cronulla and make his debut. And look, what do you say? Hard as nails. He's a champion bloke. He's one of them guys you want to play with, not against. Had a great start to the season. Been a bit quiet post-Origin, but a lot of players do that. But, you know, tried his guts out last week. He had a great combination on that right-hand edge early in the season, but he's been a victim of the way, Newcastle have gone. But I'll tell you what, Shirvo, one of the best players I've played with as far as wanting a person on your team.
Well, we heard this week that Nathan Brown will take over as head coach of the Newcastle Knights. Unfortunately for him, he's losing a whole lot of talent out of his side. Kurt Gidley, Tyrone Roberts, Beau Scott, who we mentioned just then, Tuamavave, Clint Newton and David Failongo as well. Braith, it's basically a rebuild at the Knights, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Hodgkins is obviously a huge buy for them, but then they lose Gidley and Roberts, both their halves. And it's interesting to see Todd Lowry's going back to the Knights. I think he started at the Knights, so he goes back. They're definitely a rebuilding stage for them. New coach, new halfback. I think he can have a good combination with Mullen, but they lose a lot of experience there as well. Clint Newton's going, so it is a rebuilding phase. I wouldn't expect too much too soon for them. Maybe next year, I'm not too sure if they'll compete at the top.
I think you'll see a lot of guys from the 20s competition, even New South Wales Cup, come into the squad and be a lot better players than what we thought. You know, Brownie's biggest strength is identifying talent and bringing them on. He'd definitely have an idea as to who he's going to play where and what, because he plans a hell of a lot into a pre-season, as all coaches do, but he'd have a relatively good idea of who he's going to play where.
Plenty on the line out there at Pepper Stadium this afternoon, that's for sure. Spoon Bowl, we've dubbed it, because the wooden spoon is up for grabs between these two teams, the Panthers and the Knights. It's a good afternoon to Andrew Voss and Jimmy Smith. Hello, boys.
Yeah, hello, Shirvo. Yes, it's an incredible stat, isn't it? Oh, that's not a microphone. Come on. It's only the second time in the last 35 years that second last has played last going into the last round. And I think the team that's currently running last, I'm actually pretty confident about Newcastle winning today, Jimmy. What about you?
So am I. And it's a function of their previous form, a couple of wins, and then that big clash against the Bulldogs last week. And, of course, the injuries that have they've decimated Penrith pretty much all year, but certainly for this final game as well. Jamie Soward out, Bryce Cartwright out, and a couple of young guys making their debut today. So a brand new team for Penrith in many ways, and as a result of that, I like Newcastle's chances as well.
See, as we look at the table too, I also think the Tigers will knock over the Dragons. So any thoughts of Newcastle winning and Penrith then on for and against not getting the wooden spoon, I just don't think it's going to happen. This is it right here. Now, from your own career, Jimmy, there was one year where you were part of a team that did finish last. Can you tell us about going to training those last few weeks? Are you really driven to avoid the spoon, or do you just want the season to end?
Well, we're a little bit like the Newcastle Knights. We had a new coach because we had a coach sack. That's what happens when you run last, there's a coach change. And that was at South Sydney in 1998. Steve Martin was gone, Craig Coleman was in, and Craig obviously made it really enjoyable to go to training, but a lot of it, Vossi, is about the personal pride in your performance. Yep. And yes, while you're disappointed with the season, you're really keen on finishing strongly individually for a number of reasons, for the fans, for the team, for your teammates, but also for your own well-being, of course. You're trying to secure yourself a contract.
Well, talking up the Newcastle Knights, they've got a fabulous record here at Penrith. In some ways, they are a bogey side for the Panthers, so we throw that into the mix as well. I think the form of Newcastle under Danny Buderus has been the real deal for fighting spirit. There's more than just spirit to it, and I think that'll carry them a long way today. So, as I say, I'm pretty confident Newcastle will get the job done. Cbus super tip, Jimmy, lock it in for you as well?
Lock it in for Newcastle. The Knights are finished without the wooden spoon this year. Unfortunately for Penrith, I think you might get it.
And a big day. We've mentioned farewelling players as well and milestone games, but let's hope Dave Simmons gets a try. Beau Scott, he can have a try as well, and Lewis Brown can celebrate game 150. Clint Newton can come on and make 30 tackles. Can't wait to call it, fellas. Get back to us shortly. Where's
Absolutely, yeah. Dave Simmons going for his 50th try. An outstanding afternoon for him as well, wrapping up his career in the Rugby League. Outstanding afternoon there at Pepper Stadium. Nice to see I made a cameo into that preview as well, boys. Tip, which way are you going?
Did he steal
He was excited, wasn't he?
Popped in there.
I thought you meant he stole your joke book.
You know, this Newcastle, let's not forget they beat Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. Only just got beat by the Bulldogs last week, you know, so they've been in good form under Buderus. Take out Soward and Cartwright from Penrith, and they didn't play that good last week against Canberra. It's got to be Newcastle today.
Yep, Gaz?
No, well said, Braith. I couldn't agree more on Newcastle.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Knights as well. Just recent form absolutely points to them winning against the Panthers. Let's see where the money's going. Here's a update with Jared Middleton.
Thanks, Shirvo. Well, this market completely flipped around this week as Newcastle went from outsiders to favourites. One punter had 5,000 on them at $2. They've won 2 of their last 3. The Panthers, it's been a nightmare since their round 11 bye, winning 3 of 13, 23%. And the wooden spoon's most likely the prize for the loser. The tab stat pick will be the Knights 1 to 12 there at $3.10. In Kurt Gidley's last game, so if you're feeling sentimental, he actually has his best try tally against the Panthers of all teams. So there he is, 290 to score a try at any time. You can find all these markets on your Tab app on your mobile at tab.com.au, or to bet live, call 133 390, and please gamble responsibly.
Thank you, Mido. Great to have you on the show, that's for sure. OK, now, boys, just very quickly, the Knights, 2 wins and just lost to the Bulldogs last week. It's been since Danny Buderus has taken over. Bedsy, what's he brought to the Knights that wasn't there? What was missing?
Oh, look, I think respect and commitment to the jersey. You know, I think that's what Bedsy stood for so much throughout his playing career. He absolutely bled it for the club and gave his life. And I think, you know, when a guy comes in like that and talks to you as a group and what he expects from you, it's hard not to respond.
He was a reluctant coach, wasn't he, to fill in as an interim and sort of didn't put his hand up straight away to take over next year. Nathan Brown has been announced as the head coach, but he'll obviously still remain a part of the Newcastle Knights coaching staff next year.
Yeah, well, Gaz was saying he may get the Holden Cup job. I don't think that's confirmed yet, but they do need him there. Like, there's no doubt about that. The spirit and determination he showed and put back into their team over the last month shows that he needs to be a part of the club. And I suppose he's realistic about it. You know, he doesn't want to step into the job too early. No, exactly, you know, he said, "All right, I've had fun, I've enjoyed it, but I've got to do my apprenticeship, get the best coach I can possibly be over the next couple of years, and then I might put my hand up in a couple of years' time."
Yes, it is a Spoon Bowl, and it's all about to kick off out at Pepper Stadium. It is the Panthers up against the Newcastle Knights, and they're trying to avoid the wooden spoon, the most hated thing you want out of a rugby league season, that's for sure. Kick off straight after the break.
Super Saturday begin. Hello everyone from Pepper Stadium, and this is the Panthers for the final time this year, likewise the Newcastle Knights, and so many personal milestones today. We touched on it in the preview. The last time we see the great Kurt Gidley in the National Rugby League, the last time we see David Simmons, who's been a professional try scorer but also doubles as his 200th game, and then you've got the likes of Beau and Lewis Brown with personal milestone matches. But the biggest stat, when it all gets down to it, the wooden spoon. Yes, you can't avoid it. One of these sides, to my way of thinking, will finish last. I know mathematically the Tigers could get 16th, but I think it boils down to here and right now. And who wants that? No one.
No one. That's right. Unless we get an extra time draw, and they both get a point here.
Interesting. Yes,
and then the Tigers lose to the Dragons.
That's one I hadn't thrown into it, Jimmy. I'll give you 10s, but away you go.
All right, Jake Mamo will be at the back for the Newcastle Knights, and on the wings, Nathan Ross and Aku Uate. Nathan Ross, the fullback of the year in the New South Wales Cup last year. Sione Matautia and Dane Gagai in the centres. Kurt Gidley, 251st and last game for the Newcastle Knights. Tyrone Roberts moving on from the Newcastle Knights as well. Up front, Kate Snowden, Adam Clydesdale and Corbin Sims. Beau Scott, 200th and final game. You mentioned that for Newcastle, off to Parramatta next year. Tarek Sims and Chris Houston round out the starting 13, and then Tyler Randell, Joseph Tapane, Clint Newton and Sam Matora, their bench players.
So it's been bright sunshine all afternoon. Again, it's a little warm, but there is a bit of a breeze as well, just to temper things. And we're not too far away from the sides running out. Sideline duties will be with Nathan Feen today. Jimmy and I in the box, we're confident that Newcastle will get the job done here. And here they come out for the final time this year. This was the side that made that quite brilliant start in terms of victories. 2015, 4 straight. They were competition leaders. And then for the next 16 weeks, they won only twice. And then change of coach, and things have started to happen for them. So Kurt Gidley leads them out for the final time. And I say he's been a great. He's a Newcastle club great. There's no question of that. He'll be plying his trade in the north of England next year at Warrington. And Beau Scott ends his time with the Knights before heading to the Eels.
I think what you appreciate most about Kurt Gidley is that whatever talent he had, and that was considerable, whatever talent he had, he got the most out of it. He squeezed the lemon. And in the end, as you say, turned himself into a club great. 12 tests, 12 origins, captained his state. That's a career in anyone's terms.
Welcome back. Full full time in Penrith, and the Panthers finished the season on a high with a win over the Newcastle Knights. 30 points to 12 was the final scoreline. It does mean, though, for the Newcastle Knights, they receive for just the second time in their club's history the wooden spoon in 2015. Definitely a season to forget for them. Welcome back to Mark Gasnier and Braithen Astor. Boys, interesting game, wasn't it? It looked like the Knights in the first half were going to go away with it, possibly avoid that wooden spoon, but they couldn't quite get there.
Oh, look, I thought the Panthers always looked a lot more threatening. In saying that, yeah, I thought the Knights started sluggish, but they would have got a lot better in the second half, whereas they didn't. You know, Penrith just looked like they were a bit more excited, threw the ball around a lot more, chanced their arm, and they got rewarded for it.
Plus, Cheer Girls duck for cover as the Panthers and Knights end their seasons on an ugly note. To the NRL, and there were ugly scenes at Penrith today with Knights and Panthers players spilling into a group of terrified cheer girls during a wild brawl. The incident happened midway through the second half of a tense clash as both teams looked to avoid the wooden spoon.
Someone will have to go to the bed. There may be no punches thrown. Now look at this. Well, this is all a bit ugly. No, this is not good at all.
It took the gloss off an exciting 30-12 win by the Panthers, which means Newcastle finished the year in last spot.
The Panthers have been hit hard this season, but conjured enough this afternoon to beat Newcastle and avoid the wooden spoon. A relaxed Panthers performance secured a 30 points to 12 win, leaving the Knights on the bottom rung of the ladder.
The wooden spoon match in Newcastle, hardly a marketer's dream, but with footwork like this, it was selling itself.
That was a really nice move from Will Smith.
James Seguiaro was flattened by a shoulder charge and left in a dazed state. Confusion that was contagious because the Knights were soon as bewildered as ever, with Penrith throwing the ball with reckless abandon. Winger Dave Simmons nearly scoring a remarkable try in his 200th and final NRL match. It was Clint Newton's final game too, and he did cross.
And Clint Newton is claiming a try!
Newcastle was also looking to send out club great Kurt Gidley a winner, and right on track, leading 12-8 at half-time.
Momo! Oh, he's something special!
But the Panthers pounced early in the second half with tries to Dean Farrah and then an airborne Tyrone Peachy. Newcastle's day was growing sour. And soon after, 26 rounds of frustration came flooding to the fore.
This is real rough and tumble. Momo's at the short strokes.
Penrith ran away with it, 30 points to 12. The Knights didn't score in the second half. Newcastle, the 2015 Wooden Spooners. Rob Canning, 9 News.
Okay, game one on Super Saturday Words, the Panthers and the Knights. Spoon Bowl, we all dubbed it on Super Saturday. No, we all did. We all got on board on that one. And in the end, the Panthers too good for the Knights. It means the Knights are spoon-bound. But the Panthers, I mean, this is the amazing thing about the bottom eight. The Panthers were fighting to avoid the wooden spoon in this match. Yeah. Straight after this game, they moved to within 2 wins of the top 8. That's how close it was.
Yeah, well, the Knights are the most successful losing team in a long, wooden spooners in a long time. But this is not a good. I don't think this is a good headline for Kurt. He deserves better than this. And you know, he was great last week for the Knights. They probably wish they'd finished last week. So today was a poor performance by them. But you know what, Penrith did really well. No one really gave them a chance. Well, we didn't. You know, and I think the way they played with the roster they had, the injuries they've had. They fought till the end. They didn't want that wooden spoon. They showed that. They showed character, and it was a good performance by them.
Yeah, Knights incoming coach Nathan Brown certainly has a job ahead of him. Danny Buderus obviously has had the reins for the last 6 weeks, and in the press conference he spoke about what he thinks needs to be done at the club for it to go on the up from next year.
You know, we need some support around personnel, that's for sure. You know, we've got some young kids coming through, no doubt, but you know, we need to spend our cap wisely. We need some third parties, I guess you'd say, at our club. But it'll be a long, hard road. There's no doubt about that. And we've got a new coach coming in, and he knows what is needed to change this place around. And it's a big job at hand, and everyone's got to help from top to bottom in our organisation.
Yeah, Wayne Bennett, when he left, said it was going to be a huge job. He felt it was going to take quite a few years to turn things around. Here are the gains and losses for the Knights. The big gain, we've already talked about it, is another new coach. Nathan Brown will have a clean slate to start with. I guess how quickly fans want to know, they always want to know, how quickly can they turn it around based on what they're looking at for 2016?
Look, next year's going to be hard, but the year after I'd expect a lot more. I'd expect to see him in the 8 and I'd expect to see him challenged. Bedsy hit the nail on the head there with third-party deals, etc. They need them to support that. That's the way the competitive environment is. But Brownie, as I said, he's going to bring on some juniors. He'll maximise their talent. He'll get a lot out of them skill-wise.
OK, let's have a look at the ladder, and unfortunately for the Knights, a good run of form towards the end wasn't quite enough to keep them out of that wooden spoon position. They walk away with that for just the second time in the club's history.
Final place, unfortunately for the Newcastle Knights, was secured with a loss to Penrith out at Pepper Stadium. Penrith got away to a really good start. Newcastle got in front. I thought that might take something out of the Penrith side, but they were actually the side that finished stronger. Been a very, very strange year for the Newcastle Knights, hasn't it? They led after 4 rounds, then things went really awry. They lose their coach. Danny Buderus comes in. They looked great for a couple of weeks. The effort was there, but at the end of all of that, they finished 16th.
Yeah, poor year. I thought they were certainties yesterday with the injury crisis to Penrith and no Soward, no Bryce Cartwright. I thought Newcastle would win and win well, but they didn't come up after that big performance against the Bulldogs last week, and I think they're missing some real strong personalities in that team.
You got to say it was a poor year for both clubs.
Yeah.
I know we keep talking about the Penrith, the injury crisis, but you know what? Poor year.
Yeah, well, it's the same blokes making the same errors for Newcastle all the time. They just need some stronger personalities in there.
All right, well, one strong personality we believe is going to be in charge next year. Is it unofficially official that Nathan Brown's in charge? Because he hasn't been given... McGuigan comes out during the week. Lack of communication there at the highest level with Newcastle, but Brownie's got the job, hasn't he?
Yeah, look, Brownie's got the job, but it's not...
Has he?
It's not pen to paper stuff.
So he hasn't been signed, but he's got that job.
Yeah,
right.
Look, I think the chairman's got a little bit excited there up in Newcastle that they've got a new coach, and he has gone on local radio and declared that Brownie's going to be the man, and he will be the man. I'm expecting a press conference midweek, and actually that Brown will actually travel up there and present to the players that he has got on contract next season and explain which way he wants to go forward. So look, it's as good as a done deal you've ever seen.
Well, I believe that Danny Buderus has been in touch with Nathan saying he would like to be in contact or it's like somewhere involved in the organisation, so that's a pretty good sign.
Bedsy's got to be involved. Yeah, of course. You've got to keep him in.
Just really quickly, this is a bad look for our game. Push and shove at the end of this Newcastle Penrith game. We've got young cheer girls sitting on the sideline. Firstly, these blokes, they're not going to achieve anything like this. Second thing, I don't know, maybe it's a sign that we shouldn't have too many people inside the playing arena. The young girls there, and one of the mums coming to make sure that the players don't get too close. It's a really bad look, and we need to avoid that, and maybe stern words to the players about what's expected of them, but also I'm not sure whether the young cheer girls should be inside the
Did anything happen in the game with Josh Mansour and Jake Memo? What is his name? Everyone calls him Memo in Newcastle.
That'll do.
Because they sprinted from the other wing to give him a couple of push and shoves. It's just...
The whole
you
game,
just shake your head.
The whole game, though, they're like teenagers. They're sitting 15th and 16th, and all they want to do is elbow each other in the head and rub each other's face in the ground, and then they end up nearly falling all over some 6-year-old cheer girls, so snap out of it.
I wouldn't be surprised if the NRL issued both teams with a breach notice there for that behaviour.
The sin bin needs to be brought in more into our game next year to stop this pushing, and it's quite embarrassing. It is.
It's embarrassing.
All right, now.
Wish was around with Jamie.
No embarrassment tomorrow night.
Yeah. That's not needed then.
At 9:40 tomorrow.
Still would have hammered me.
Okay, thanks to Hope Timber Hardware. Our trivia question this week concerns Kurt Gidley, who played his last game in the NRL this weekend. I want to know, what was Kurt Gidley's most regular playing position? There's a few of them. We know that he played well, whatever number he had on his back, but which position did he actually play most in the NRL? We'll give you the answer on the side of the break. Yeah, thanks to Home Timber and Hardware. We wanted to know Kurt Gidley's most regular playing position. There were a few of them, but most times he was at fullback. And let's have a look here. 5'8", 65, halfback 48, hooker 19, centre 6, interchange 10. But he certainly made his mark as the fullback and obviously represented New South Wales in that position as well. Let's have a look at their game out at Pepper Stadium yesterday against Penrith. I spoke about a little bit earlier how disappointing it was for both teams to be basically playing for the wooden spoon in this match. One of the highlights was a little bit more of a look at this young man, Will Smith. But look, I know that you said, you know, well, Penrith were one game away from the grand final last year, and they've finished 15th. But I do look at every week how many players they had on the sideline. You know, you've got to have your health during the course of the season. And maybe their roster didn't have the depth of others. But
yeah, I've been saying that. They've been doing really well in the 20s competition the last couple of years, and their reserve grades won the competition the last couple of years. So they have had the depth. I think at some stage it's hard to pinpoint injuries and how to avoid injuries. At some stage you've got to say, well, you know what, this year we're not going to be unlucky and somehow face it with a different attitude. I don't know, but he was outstanding, Tyrone Peachy.
He's got to be close to getting Origin selection off the bench. Yeah, I reckon him coming off the bench in a rep game would just be so dangerous.
Where's his best position? Out wide as a wide running back row or a lock forward?
No idea.
I think he's the old school lock forward.
Just let him go everywhere.
Forward. Yeah.
I don't know where he'd play or where his best position, because he plays everywhere.
Get him to chase the footy.
I suppose that's a hard thing, Joey, if you put him in a rep side, but he's so exciting. And I thought Will Smith, Campbell, Regan Gillard, I thought had a fantastic end of season.
He's strong, isn't he?
He was awesome. So a few players there can hold their head up.
Where are Newcastle at? They're losing a lot of players, change of coach.
Trent Hodkinson coming in, change of coach. They're a few years away, aren't they?
I think there's 3 years of pain there before they start being competitive. It's a huge job for Nathan Brown.
Got some good young players. I thought Siani Matautia actually had a pretty good finish to the season. But Jake Mamo has really come.
They've got some young players in the
Sims
spine.
brothers found some
I thought
form.
Corbin Sims was their best all year.
Yeah.
They've got a young guy, Danny Levi, who's a young dummy half, very much in the Isaac Luke type. And they've got him and Memo at the fullback. So the spine there, they've got a young spine that they can build on. Just the key is how Hodkinson comes up, along with Jared Mullen, those two positions.
Well, I suppose the big key, you see so many Newcastle juniors playing at other clubs. I think one of the real keys is getting kids to want to play for Newcastle.
I think Nathan Brown, that's his big thing he's going to focus on. Getting that, because they've got so many juniors coming through, picking the right ones and putting all that work into the right ones and developing those guys.
That's exactly what he did when he went to England.
Yeah.
He looked at that and then had success on the back of that. So that's a good template, no doubt. A number of players from this game leaving the NRL, or whether it's hanging up their boots or heading overseas, we caught up with them.
Well, what's the emotion after a day like that and an occasion like that?
Oh, it hasn't really sunk in yet that that's the last time I'll be playing first grade. But you know, that's not how we wanted to go out. But don't always get what you wish for sometimes. So yeah, but it's been a hell of a journey, and best news is I get to go around next week with State Cup. So the journey's not quite over.
What about that reception you were getting from the crowd over the other side there, and the thanks Simo banner?
Yeah, man, it was just good to soak it up. You know, we got to a bit of a lead, and so I just wanted to soak up the last few moments with the fans, just really enjoy it.
Probably a good sign a winger's got to retire, right, when Tarek Sims can run him down?
Was it Tarek Sims? Oh my goodness, I thought I was in the clear. I was thinking about scoring, you know, so it wasn't Sims, was it? Okay, I'll have to watch the film.
What are your fondest memories of the game?
Oh, the friendships. Yeah, I think, you know, I played footy right from when I was 7 years old, and the teammates that I've met over the years and coaches that have influenced me in my career, the friendships that I've made, they'll last forever. And team sports, it's a great sport to play, rugby league. You meet so many great people, so many great friendships, and I'm looking forward to the new friends I'll be making over in the UK.
A one-club man. I know that's extremely important to you.
Yeah, look, I grew up in Newcastle, and I never thought I was going to be playing, you know, first grade for the Newcastle Knights. I was a supporter, and I had an older brother who was playing, obviously, and I used to sit on the hill and idolise the guys watching, and you know, as I come through the grades, and it became more realistic to be a Newcastle Knight first grader. It was a wonderful moment. It's been a wonderful career.
Mate.
As indeed, yeah, all three men should be very proud of what they've achieved. And great to see David Simmons as captain at Penrith and playing in his 200th first grade game and his last. So well done to all of those guys, and good luck in the future.
Well, let's talk about the Panthers, gentlemen. Panthers 30 over the Knights 12 at Pepper Stadium. It was the battle for the wooden spoon. Given the players they had out, the Panthers, this was, mate, it was one of their best performances in the back half of the year. Avoided the wooden spoon, handed it to the Knights.
Yeah, this man was instrumental in the Panthers win. Will Smith, he was everywhere, dominating. And probably, I would say, if it wasn't for him, I don't think the Panthers
Still not signed either.
Really?
Nope.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I didn't either until I read it.
I was a bit disappointed with the Knights' performance. They looked sluggish for a team that had blokes like Gidley leaving and a few others. I just thought they would have turned out and played a bit better style of football that we've seen in the previous 2 weeks.
And Nathan Brown's all been confirmed. He'll be the coach next year at Newcastle. Gordon, you've had a lot to do with Brownie, an old teammate of yours.
Yeah, I think he's good. Yeah, look, I think he's good. And we had Trent Hodkinson on radio yesterday, and he said he spoke to him and he really liked him. And he learned a lot through the Origin period. So I think Nathan Brown, when he got handed the coach, and he was inexperienced. He was 27 or something, and I think now being 42, I think he's ready to coach.
Wayne Bennett, mate, has said before that when he got to the Dragons, they were ready to win a comp. So he obviously put some good things in place. Won a competition at St Helens as well. So good luck to Brownie at the Newcastle Knights.
What about Nathan Brown now and the Knights gig? Is that firmed up, and will he take Robbie Farrah with him, for example?
Yeah, very good question, Tone. Absolutely, it's firmed up. Nathan Brown will be the coach of the Newcastle Knights next year. Expect that to get announced. It'll be a 3-year deal in the next 24 to 48 hours. The Robbie Farrah element is interesting. That's starting to gather some more momentum now. Barry Toohey broke that story in the Daily Telegraph today, and certainly there's legs in it. I understand that Nathan Brown, as a Newcastle coach, would be interested in trying to get Robbie to the Knights for next season.
I reckon it's a good fit. The Knights, of course, they played the Panthers. They followed out for the wooden spoon at the weekend. For the crowd at Penrith, more of a carnival atmosphere, as you can see here. Lovely jump over. I love this security guard. Look at the commitment on that fellow. He's taking it very seriously.
Oh, big
Awesome.
Ouch.
Over I go.
Is that woman holding the support? Don't you let someone who streaks them to the ground or does something like, you let them go, you give them a bit of help to get through. That woman was trying to tackle him.
Citizens arrest.
Nathan Brown was officially unveiled as Newcastle coach this afternoon, and with the Knights roster needing a drastic overhaul, Brown may target Robbie Farrah and Todd Carney as recruits for next season.
Nathan Brown has been officially unveiled as Newcastle's new coach, promising to return the Knights to their glory days.
Some of the players of today maybe don't know what the club was built on many, many years ago.
And some good news for a former Dragon. Nathan Brown appointed to restore Newcastle's pride.
I think some of the players of today maybe don't know what the club was built on many, many years ago.